Alrighty. And hello there, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I am Super Pac. And how are you all doing today on this fine Monday evening? It's another beginning of a week. Take it for what it's worth. Today, we're going to be playing some Pac-Man games, but not the Pac-Man games you normally see. They re-release Pac-Man collections every so often. They just recently did so back last summer. Hi, London Les. How are you doing today? And we always see the same games that come out there, like Pac-Man and Super Pac-Man, and Pac-Land even, and Pac-Mania, and sometimes Pac-Attack, and Pac-this and Pac-that, Pac-everything else. But we don't see some of the games that also came out in the United States or North American arcades because they were not made by Namco. In other words, they were unauthorized, and that's kind of the subject of today. Looking forward to your stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I look forward to it too. I look forward to doing them. So, let's take a look and see what we got here as far as Pac-Man games in question. And this game is no exception. It's the original Pac-Man game that came out. This was created by a gentleman by the name of Toru Iwatani for Namco. Lower my music though, huh? It's still too loud. Sure is. How is that? Is that okay there, London Lass? Is that to your liking? Okay, good. Anyway. This is the original game, the one and only, the Great Pac-Man. Again, created by Toru Iwatani, for Iwatani. I'll get it right. For Namco. And he pretty much created everything that you would see as far as Pac-Man was concerned, as far as the authorized titles. And so some of the titles that you would see, of course, in fact, there's a gentleman right there. He actually was featured in the movie Pixels by Adam Sandler a few years back, but the person who they said was Professor Downey was not actually him, and he was an actor. He was actually one of the crew that was there, but nevertheless he was in the movie. And they recently released Pac-Man Museum Plus for various platforms. And in the Pac-Man Museum Plus, you see Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac-and-Pal, Pac-Land, Pac-Mania, all kinds of Pac-Men, but you ask yourself, where's Ms. Pac-Man in this? Well, there's a bit of a dispute right now as far as where Ms. Pac-Man is, as far as who owns it. Namco say they do, but they didn't actually create it. A bunch of ex-MIT folks did, and they created a game called Crazy Otto. They formed a company called GCE, and they chopped it around, and Midway purchased it. Midway was the North American distributor of Pac-Man back in those days. And so what they did is they kind of retooled it a bit, and they created Ms. Pac-Man. So Ms. Pac-Man is not an official Pac-Man title, believe it or not. It later became one more in a sense of retroactively, because Namco did indeed say, okay, fine, we approve of this after the fact, and in fact they even got the royalties, and ultimately they wound up owning it through a series of disagreements, continually, escalatingly disagreeing with Midway as far as who the heck can make a Pac-Man game. So the first game we're going to take a look at as far as an unauthorized Pac-Man game is Ms. Pac-Man. In fact, that's my very own Ms. Pac-Man. It's in our living room, and this is my son playing it. I remember showing this a while back on Facebook when we were going through the pandemic, and everyone was telling me about he is playing it all wrong. He doesn't have a death grip on the joystick, and he's not leaning forward into it, and he's not, whatever. It's like he's going to battle. And, well, he's actually playing the way I usually play it. Rather relaxed. And then after that, we're going to find a game called Pac-Man Plus. Now, Pac-Man Plus is a stronger, faster Pac-Man. You pretty much start off as if you were starting on the Apple level. And, well, the Energizers, the power pills, if you want to call them that, don't exactly work right. They actually may not turn all the ghosts blue. They may actually make the maze disappear. All kinds of neat little antics. And this was pretty neat too, because back what Midway was doing, even with Ms. Pac-Man, they were selling conversion kits as opposed to actual arcade cabinets. So you can buy the arcade cabinet, sure, but it would be less expensive to convert your Pac-Man to a Pac-Man Plus. And as we take a look, there the bezel and control panel and hell, the side art, the overall package minus the marquee is exactly that of a Pac-Man. In fact, even the bezel itself looks like that of a Pac-Man. Everything that you could possibly expect from a Pac-Man title. After that, they created a little game. This is a rather odd-looking cabinet. This is called Junior Pac-Man. The gimmick with Junior Pac-Man was there are no tunnels, none whatsoever. But the maze is 3 times larger than the average screen. Plus, the power pills, there are 6 of them, but should the center fruit collide with one of them, it would cause it to explode, making it a lot harder. Plus, the center fruit candies the actual regular dots, turning them from 10 points to 50 points. Okay. In fact, you can see this Junior Pac-Man here in somebody's collection. Following that, they made a pinball table. And by this time, Namco is saying, really? But Bally, who owned Midway, was one of the top pinball manufacturers in the world, for that matter. They made a game called Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. And thanks to emulation through VPX Pinball and PinMain, we can actually play this here tonight. And you see it has your basic, everyday, multi-themed, target pinball table. And then they kind of combined the two. They went back to a video game, but they kept the pinball table, and they introduced to the world, in North America, Baby Pac-Man. Baby Pac-Man is a rather cool game. I won't have to give it that. You play Pac-Man in the maze, but you use the table here to get your energizers, to advance your fruit in the center of the screen, to actually move you faster through the tunnels, that kind of thing. Of course, you get all kinds of points from doing that as well. And I tried to get the emulator to work with this one because it's multi-screen, though I couldn't get it. You could either see the game screen or you could see the table, so I'm going to show a video of that instead. And then finally, the black sheep of all Pac-Man games to humankind, the dreaded Professor Pac-Man. And I'm not going to explain this one. You'll have to see it for yourself when I get there. And that's pretty much it as far as even the control. Notice that there is no joystick. None whatsoever. You are a pupil. And you're hitting buttons A, B, or C. Yeah. So that's that. So we get to see that. It looks like you didn't get to see any of the pictures. Hope you did. Well, we'll get to that anyway. We're going to take a break real quickly. We're going to hit pause. And then we're going to fire up the old emulator. And let's go get some Ms. Pac-Man action, shall we? Grab this. I just realized I threw it into a commercial, which we don't have. It's not yet. Working on it. Sort of. Kind of. Maybe. And there is Ms. Pac-Man. Right there. Okay. So, Ms. Pac-Man. This is arguably one of the most famous of the Pac-Man games. So famous that Namco has indeed, over time, included into his library. As I said, right now there's more of a legality going along with that. What happens is that, well, like I said, somebody else other than Namco made it, but now they've been selling it off to other toy manufacturers, like the little mini arcades that you can see. You know, those things that you collect, like the Pac-Man, Galaga, and Dig Dug, and all of them. They've been making it for somebody else, and Namco didn't seem to like that. So now there's a bit of a legal squabble. As a result of that, that's the reason why, for the most part, the game was not included in the Pac-Man Museum Plus. So there's that. Before I get started, I do want to say hi to my new followers. I really appreciate you following me. That would be Chessar, thank you very much. Brahmin Steak 1, thank you. And Moody Abigail, thank you very much for following me. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoy what you see, and if you happen to not catch it live, catch it on the VOD. And of course, I have some of my older videos on YouTube with the link in my profile, so check it out. Alright, Ms. Pac-Man. So, Like I said, this is arguably believe it or not, at one time it was more famous than Pac-Man. This really didn't help things. But nevertheless, though, this was one of those games where, back when I hate to say this, where women didn't play video games as much as men did, and this and Centipede kind of broke that rule just a tad. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to kill the arcade in the background for right now. And let's have a little bit of fun with Ms. Pac-Man. There we go. Is that a little too loud? I bet you that is. Turn that down just a smidge. That should work. Now I actually remember to map the right thumbstick to play this. Because of all the years I've been... Yeah, good job. All the years I've been doing this, I don't like it with the controller. I'd much rather have a joystick. See, I'm off to an exciting, wonderful start. Yeah, if you happen to be lurking, come on in. I actually know a few things about video games. I've only been doing this for like the last 4.5 decades. Yes, you can. In fact, you did. Unless says I can play that. Yes, she can. She actually did here on this very channel. A lot of you don't know, London Lass is actually my wife. Okay, I'm still getting used to the fun thumb. Yeah, it's not working too well. Of course, let's have it sideways. I may have to remap the keyboard at this rate. Yep, you know what? I'm going to have to do that. Try this one more time. Randy can beat me at that one. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I messed up. Sorry about that. You are. Absolutely. And you know what? I normally can play this game pretty darn good. I've been practicing for a very, very long time. I think I finally got it right. I better get that cherry. It does not have long. So the center fruit on the board lasts roughly around 15 seconds. Believe it or not. It seems like an eternity, but no, about 15 seconds. And unlike Pac-Man, where they just sit there at the bottom of the ghost chamber, they go all over the place, entering from a tunnel and exiting to a tunnel. Well, I tell you, normally the one that I play is the one that's with the speed-up hack. It's not really a speed-up hack at all. It's not a program they actually entered into the main board like they would do now. It was actually a second daughter board. All Ms. Pac-Man is a daughter board to a Pac-Man board. And what that daughter board was is that it changed the sprites, changed the sounds, added some wrinkles to the game, if you will. But that's really all it is. So, some brain trust came up with the idea is, let's make this game as hard as possible. And so they made it where Ms. Pac-Man was this 256 speed. Or 255, excuse me. And that pretty much made the fast board. But by doing that, they also changed a couple of the rules. Normally, in this game, the ghosts come out by one of two ways. By either how many dots you've eaten on the screen, or time. In other words, simply time will dictate when they come out. Well, with the speed-up hack, they got rid of the time. It's only by dots. So you could theoretically run around the board eating no dots, assuming that you only have a few left, and only the red ghost will be the one running around because the other ghosts are still trapped in the chamber. Other thing, too, is the ghosts slow down in the tunnels. I knew I was going to do that. Well, with the speed-up hack, with the speed-up board rather, They stop slowing down after the second maze. In other words, once they hit the Peach maze, they're full speed ahead. And even those little itty-bitty, tiny, minuscule differences changes the game just a smidge. Not because you're running like lightning, but simply because of the fact that certain things that you would expect are not there anymore. Alrighty. Anyway, this was the game. I remember the weirdest place I ever saw this game, playing it as far as a non-home version, would be Mr. Donut. We used to have one in my neighborhood, and we'd get there, instead of like from Dunkin' Donuts or from a Krispy Kreme or whatever, we'd get it from Mr. Donut, and lo and behold, I heard somebody playing this, and somebody was playing a cocktail table, Ms. Pac-Man, inside of a donut shop, and I'm thinking, this is the greatest thing on earth. Normally you see them in like a little pizzeria, a restaurant, a bar, whatever like that, a laundromat. Nope, donut shop. We've come a long way. That was close. That couldn't do the wait and see. It is harder to play it for me this way. I think this is bad. Wait until you see the next game. So one of the things I also learned to do in this game is not to rely on the energizers. And by doing that, it's pretty much like a survival mode. Not so much, the points will come by themselves because of the fruit and all that. Even when the fruit randomizes after the banana board, you still get the points. But I would literally play it just to clear the dots. After a while, the energizers, especially when you're running at normal speed like this, become fairly useless, even at the pretzel stage here. Red Ghost is now in Cruise Elroy. What the heck's that? Cruise Elroy is that the fewer the dots are on the screen, the faster the Red Ghost will get, including outpacing you, even without eating dots. And that's a bit of a pain, especially if you are trying to clear the board eating dots, because dots will slow you down, and the Red Ghost is now faster than you are. But naturally, you are faster than the Ghost until you start eating stuff. You do head the corners faster than the Ghosts do, just like in Pac-Man. Like I said, the major differences between this and the Pac-Man game itself is simply the Ghosts don't scatter. The orange and blue Ghosts do hit their two corners at the start of each round, or life in this case. The Ghost will only do one reversal after their initial reversal, so in other words, they'll reverse twice in a maze. That's getting close. That was close, kid. Yep. So much for that. Anyway, that is Ms. Pac-Man. See, so those major differences: Ghosts only reverse once. After the initial reverse, they don't have to go through their four corners as they do in the other games. Of course, the fruit will jump around the board. Basically, that's it. Doesn't have the siren. It has a seemingly more pleasant sound, so I think that's kind of part of the charm of that one as well. So anyway, Ms. Pac-Man. It was indeed one of the greatest arcade games ever, in my opinion. It's funny, is I've been associated with Pac-Man for a very long time, largely because my initials are PAC. How convenient. It's not even my favorite game. Galaga is, but we don't have too many instances where I can put Galaga, for example, not even on the Saturday edition arcade versus console, because I can only think of 2 or 3 home consoles of Galaga altogether that were released in North America, one of which was back in the era. No, I take it back. None of them were back in the era. They all started with the 7800, then the Nintendo, and then a Game Boy, and I can't think of too many others other than Namco collections. So, but this was a sweet game. Now, I actually do like it better than Pac-Man. It's a more challenging game than Pac-Man, and they did a great job of that. What is that over there? Oh my goodness! Yes. I see, see, London last found Josh's face-off emotes. Oh, how exciting that made it to this particular broadcast! Fantastic. I could thank you for that, London last, but I just can't bring myself to do that. I shall hit pause. Next game coming up. Stay tight. I like it better with the actual bezel. That's not the actual bezel. That's actually my bezel. I have a Pac-Man in the garage, and that's where that's from. Alrighty. So this is Pac-Man Plus. As you can see, it's a slightly different Pac-Man. It's a faster, harder Pac-Man. It is a more exciting, according to Midway. Pac-Man is also an unauthorized Pac-Man. What's that there? Okay. So anyway, Pac-Man Plus. This is not one of the ones you normally see. Again, Bally Midway created this. Of course, they give the original date of 1984 Pac-Man and 1982 for this creation. And again, see the ghosts have a different sprite when they turn blue. In fact, all of the sprites are different sprites. Are they wearing bees? I don't know. They've never really explained why the ghosts look like they do when they turn blue. I always thought they were like little flags, but whatever. It's again, the sprites are a little different. The ghost's eyes are different than that of the original Pac-Man. Pac-Man itself is a little different. Has a smaller mouth. Little tiny little differences like that usually wouldn't be noticed. But let's see how harder and faster it is as I go and try and play this. This ought to be neat. Starts off normally enough. Starts off innocently enough. Stand back. And immediately you notice, man, it's faster. Sure is. Now the basic rules are still in place, like the 2 T's. T in the top of the box, T in the bottom of the box. They cannot go up it, they can only go down it. At least normally. Where'd the ghosts go? Oh my goodness, they are gone. Where did they go? Oh, got one for 400 points. There they are. I'm going to try that other one. So little quirks like that makes the game a little bit more different. I'm lucky that ghost turned. As you see, the orange ghost there did not turn. The orange ghost stayed in regular mode. Now, like the regular Pac-Man, they also go back to scatter. do that another 3 times or so in the game, in this maze. Okay, blue ghost stayed this time. Up, and come back down. Alright, tie goes to the player. Oh, if I only knew. Okay. Oh, yeah, the Energizers are not there. Nope, pink one stayed. They're not liking me today. Of course you would reverse, excuse me. And there's that. Normally you get a bigger score, but it's harder to do this one. Harder to get all 4 ghosts, especially when all 4 ghosts aren't turning. Why did I do that? Good job. You didn't see that. The ghosts are worth double their score when you use the center fruit. At least they all turn. Invisible. Ah, they finally all turned. This is the first time from an Energizer. Man. I have to go wearing beanies. I'll have to remember that one last thing. Say, where all the ghosts go? And what's underneath me? Now, in scared mode, the ghosts can go up the 2 T's, but they can't go down the 2 T's. Excuse me, go down 2 T's, not go up. You know what I mean. Like that. Makes for a perfect escape. Sort of. Okay, 2 levels, only 12,000 points. It's kind of brutal. So the first fruit is a Coke can, obviously. Actually says soda. Second fruit looks like to be a cocktail. Third one is a teapot. You're not going to let me get it. So. Okay, that was neat. Poor Blinky got caught in the tunnel when they did a reverse. There we go. Yeah, he is. He is the cruiser. Fine by me. Okay. I should have went the other way. Oh well, got 2 ghosts. See if I can find the other ones. The Energizers now last longer rather than teapot last. Scatter mode. No longer in scatter mode. I believe one of the plug-in plays made by, I think it was Jellico. No, Jackson Industries, excuse me. Actually had a Pac-Man Plus along with the Pac-Man games. I think that's the only time I've ever seen it. But they've made so many of them over the years where, you know, you plug it into your TV and boom, you have a Pac-Man game right there for your television. A lot of them were actually emulated. I have to... Christ. Yep, saw that coming. Emmy Pod Peas, yep. See what the next one is. It's an apple. Replace the apple. There it is, finally. Question is, will I get to it in time? Yes. Gives me a bit of a chance to do some more damage with the dots. There it is. 26,980 points. Not too terrible. Not too great, not too bad. And that's what made it harder, believe it or not. It was just simply faster, more challenging because, well, play tricks on you. The maze would disappear. The ghosts would disappear. The ghosts wouldn't all turn much faster. Does it make for a better game? That's debatable. I don't know. Sometimes just throwing tricks into the thing just to see what kind of random goodies happen doesn't necessarily make it a better product. But like I said, I liked it. I thought it was a pretty good game. Look at that. Seems like the demo is doing a little bit better than I did. All right. Let's go ahead and switch up the game. We're going to be coming up with, I believe, Junior Pac-Man? I believe so. I believe so. Back in a sec. As I hit pause. All right. Let's see what we got next up on the agenda here. There it is. Oh, and it's side-scrolling glory. Look at that. That is Junior Pac-Man. Now, what's funny is that they made some Pac-Man games for the various consoles over the years. Sega Genesis had its share. Had Pac-Man 2, New Adventures, which essentially was you guided Pac-Man to his quest to do whatever in the game. But there was also an arcade that you would eventually go into. You actually would play the Pac-Man game itself, but there was a second game there. And that one had Pac-Man Jr., a little different from Junior Pac-Man, which we're seeing here. But that particular thing was actually authorized and made by Namco, where this one wasn't. This is yet another Midway creation. And this game is considerably harder than the other Pac-Man games that we've played, including Pac-Man Plus. For you have no escape. There is no tunnel in these mazes that you'll see. Plus, the mazes are gargantuan in comparison. Still have 4 ghosts. You do have 6 energizers to guide you, or to help you rather. But the fruit in the center, or the prize in this particular game, well, they candy the dots, make it a little slower for you to eat them, but they're worth more points. They're worth 50 points instead of 10. But if they should collide with one of those energizers, it makes the energizers explode. We'll always go after the 4 in the corners first, and then the 2 in the center. Nonetheless, asks, how did the games get made if not approved? Simply, they made them behind their backs. They had the North American rights to Pac-Man. In other words, they were the distributor for here, as opposed to Namco, which was the rest of the world. But being that they themselves were a video game manufacturer, they took it upon themselves to see what they can do to make more money. Now, while in the meantime, they were also releasing the Namco authorized sequels like Super Pac-Man, Pac-N-Pal. Those did get released in North America. They didn't get as popular, however, because Ms. Pac-Man was still tearing up things back in those days. But the actual sequel to Pac-Man is not Ms. Pac-Man, it's Super Pac-Man. And that game played a lot differently. There were no dots except for the energizers. There were 2 types of energizers. One that turned the ghosts blue like normal, and one that turned you into Super Pac-Man, which made you a faster, larger Pac-Man that could simply go over the ghosts without any difficulty whatsoever and chomp through the doors, because you had to collect keys to open doors to get the fruit. Another day. So they made these instead. So while Namco was releasing those games, Midway was rather releasing these games, and they were making money off of both. And then they got creative, and then they got stupid. This is part of the creative, mercifully. So let's see what we got here. I turn up the emulator. See, let's go ahead and turn this one down just a smidge. Not as loud as the others. Here we go. Of course, they all start the same. As it points out there, I love the little graphic there on top. 10 points for the regular dot, 50 points for candied dot. Energizers, of course, 50 points. Everything else is regular score. And here we go. Oh, how cute. Lowercase lettering, even. Like I said, the mazes are humongous. Here is the first fruit, or prize in this case. It's not fruit at all. It is a... Oh, good lord. Tricycle. Now, all those dots that got candy are now gone. You do not get them. You gotta keep track of that. You can't just let it bounce all the way around. Okay, it's worth 100 points, just as normal. Right on through me, wow. Now, by this time, video games are still pretty much in high gear, but it took a while for a home port to come through. For example, Pac-Man came out in 1980, but didn't come out for Atari until 1982. So, some time. And yes, it took two years after Pac-Man to get that gem of a Pac-Man game for the 2600. I feel bad for Todd Fry because he did do a good job with other games, but not necessarily that one. Oh, don't reverse. Oh, Linky is in Cruise Elroy. Alrighty. I see something has just turned up, so hang on just a second. I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to hit pause right here. I'll be right back. Yes. I gotta love live streaming. Where was I? Just died. That's where I was. How convenient. Before they do that first reversal, they don't... Why? They don't reverse. I mean, they don't follow until that first reverse. I'm out of energizers. Got dots scattered all over the board, and that's usually one of the biggest mistakes most players will make. Not necessarily just in this game, but in Pac-Man games in general. Now you just gotta kind of keep them away. You know, Inky there likes to head off and catch you in the pass there. I think I got this one. There you go. So they didn't make any too many home ports of this one. The one that actually made it into production was for the Atari 2600 ball machines, and I must say it was exceptional. They did a great job with it. Doesn't have the same, you know, details as this particular game does. It does have intermissions, sort of. But they did do a great job, I have to admit. The prototype came out for the 5200, but it never made it out. For the 2600 version, has a date of 1984. That, of course, is 1 year after the video game Crash, and a lot of things video game-wise for the home consoles didn't get made in 1984, at least. Oh, bad. Oh, bad. Yep. Good job. Yep. Like I said, if you are watching and you'd like to talk to me or even London Lass, feel free. Always here. Do poorly. Hey Colton, how you doing? Welcome aboard. Let's see the Pac-Man games that don't appear in Pac-Man collections, like the Pac-Man Museum recently released, for everything under the sun. This is Junior Pac-Man. Because why not? And I don't know if you caught this, Colton. London Lass actually asked a very good question. She asked the question, how did they make them without Namco's approval? And simply, the answer is, they just did. It's like the, because you could. Doesn't necessarily mean you should, but because you could. Okay. Good job. I'm doing okay. It is Monday. I'll do another game because that was rather short, I have to admit. I've rerouted my thumbstick instead of most people play with the left thumbstick, but I've been playing all the Pac-Man games right-handed my entire lifetime practically. And so I've adapted it to the right thumbstick, but I'm still playing it like a joystick because. But I'm doing okay. It's Monday evening, first day of the week. I haven't had a bad day, pretty much. So yeah, doing all right. How about you? How are you doing? Play one more game so you can see that. So you can see the total disaster of what a too large of a maze looks like. Game's good. First time I ever played this particular Pac-Man. Oh gosh. Of course, the arcade's no longer there. So hardly, none of the arcades are there anymore. Even the big arcade that I went to a huge arcade back in the 1980s. It was at one time the world's largest arcade. You probably can Google that one. It did have over 1,000 games in it. It is a good Monday. I guess so. It's not a bad Monday. How about that? I have a hard time justifying the word good in front of any Monday. I've never been a fan of Mondays. Kind of like Garfield the cat. I mean, there are some work weeks where I've had Monday and Monday Part 2 and Monday Part 3, Monday Part 4. But oddly enough, Friday never is a Monday part anything. It's Friday. But I will say this though, that Friday afternoon, because I work the usual office hours, if you will. Friday afternoon is like the longest damn thing known to humankind. If you need things to speedily go along, it ain't happening. If it were like dead for like the first few hours of the day, it certainly won't be in that last couple hours. And yet time will still stretch and stretch. Okay, oh goody. Let's check this out. I have no energizers. What happens here is that little fruit thing eventually collide with an energizer and destroy itself, destroying the energizer with it. Oops. So, in this game, you have no tunnels. You have a massive maze. But, if your center prize collides with an energizer, it will destroy the energizer and it along with it. So therefore, you get no bonus prize and you get no energizer. Turn those ghosts blue. My biggest beef with this game simply was the size of the maze. It's way too big. It's an enjoyable game, but it's much harder. The energizers don't last as long as opposed to the other Pac-Man games. Dare say, except for Pac-Man Plus. Pac-Man Plus is just ridiculous. Yeah, and I made a mention that from with the Jax Industries had the plug-and-play Pac-Man games, and you plug it into your television, and lo and behold, you got a Pac-Man game. Pac-Man Plus actually made it to one of those. It's the only time I've ever seen one of these actually in a collection that's authorized by Namco. This never made it to any Namco collection, to my knowledge. There is a home version for this. Like I said earlier, it's for the Atari 2600. It's quite good, much to my surprise. But oh, thank God for that one reversal that comes about a minute and a half into the maze. But when you go take a look at the Pac-Man Museum for the Steam or Xbox or whichever PlayStation happens to be on today, you'll see that it has a lot of Pac-Man games like Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac-and-Pal, Pac-Land, Pac-Mania, and then some of the offshoot games like Pac-Attack, which was like a Tetris-like game, believe it or not. That was part of made for the Super Nintendo, for that matter. That's where it appeared first. Doesn't have this game, doesn't have Pac-Man Plus. Doesn't have Ms. Pac-Man, and sometimes they do have them there, but right now there's a legal dispute over who actually gets the money from Ms. Pac-Man. Okay, that's what I get for using a wonderful thumbstick. See if I can do that again. This time, actually go into the direction of the Energizer. Good job. This side's completely clear. Believe so. also impressive. The gentleman who created, person who created Pac-Man was Toru Iwatana. He was responsible for a great many Namco games, as a matter of fact, whether he's the producer or its designer. Of course, he designed Pac-Man, but he also helped design and produce Galaga, Rally X, Ridge Racer, and of course all the Pac-Man games, including he was a project leader for the Pac-Man Championship Edition. First time it came out back earlier this century. Kind of strange for me to say it that way. Oh yeah, and he's I believe he's in his late 60s, if I'm not mistaken. They're all getting up there in age. Shigeru Miyamoto, who's the creator, designer, of Donkey Kong, I forget that he's got some age on him too, and I look at it, they all are now. But back in the day, they were all young. Good job. Now, one of the Ms. Pac-Man, I didn't play the Ms. Pac-Man that had the speed-up board on it. But I think they actually made a speed-up board for Junior Pac-Man, I'm not sure. All it was just a daughter board you attached to the main board. That just enhanced Pac-Man's speed from whatever it is normally to 255. I was traveling the same speed. That of the ghost's eyes when they go back to the box. There you go. Not too bad, not too shabby. By this time, Midway was getting a bit more, let's say, daring, more creative. They actually made a rather respectable title screen here. There's a track mode here with the bushes and the bridge and the water and so forth like that. And of course, instead of using your typical font that was used for lettering, instead they had the customized and everything lowercase. It was actually pretty cool. And there's a stork dropping off, as you found in Ms. Pac-Man's intermission. Remember, a little baby Pac-Man was born, and this one came with his own whirlybird hat. How charming. How endearing. Oh, that's so cute. So the next entry in the unauthorized Pac-Man list is not a video game whatsoever. Bally was the owner of Midway. We know that. They were one of the largest, pinball manufacturers of all time. They did a very good job of that. And so they took their knowledge of pinball tables and somehow they made a Pac-Man game out of it. Why not? Because it was there. Because they could, or at least they thought they could. Namco had other ideas, and they kept on pissing off Namco over and over again, pretty much saying, don't do this again. And Midway's like, okay, we won't. But they did. And let's see what kind of concoction they made. The next unauthorized Pac-Man game. But first, I hit pause. I can load it up. Be right back.
Pac-Man.
Indeed, it is Pac-Man. Alrighty. This is going to be a little bit trickier because the Twitch Studio doesn't like the pinball emulator. In this case, it would be VPX Pinball. And the reason being is I have no idea. It just doesn't. And so one of these will be the actual game, playing the game. That would be Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. Yes, that is an actual title. And then the following game will not be me playing because I can't get it to play both the pinball table and the arcade monitor. Get to that in just a second. Again, these are titles you don't normally see in a Pac-Man collection. Hence the Unauthorized Sequels. So there's that. Alright, so let me see if I can get this going without crashing stuff. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Yep. Interesting. It is not liking it. Yeah, because it's showing this instead of the actual table, which is kind of irritating. Should be showing the visible pinball player. It's not doing that. So, give me just one quick second. Now it's showing absolutely nothing. Fantastic. Oh, now it shows up. Of course. Oh, make life easy. Alright, let's try one more time. I'm getting a fatal error. Okay. There it goes. It worked on testing, like I said. But right now it's giving me some fits, so hang on for just a second there. I have to admit I'm going through these a little faster than I would like, but that's alright. Nothing is perfect. Alright, oops, there goes Dusty. Some got his attention out there. Dusty's my Rhodesian Blackmouth Cur mix. Let's see what it sees.
Pac-Man.
Thank you. I know it's Pac-Man. Everything's Pac-Man. Hang on just one second. Alrighty. What a time for everything to not work. So I stand by for just one second. I just want to see if I can actually see it on the screen. Unfortunately, I only do this with one monitor because, well, I'm brand new to this. I've been streaming since, I don't know. I forget. Let's see if I can see as far as what it's showing right now. Alright, it's showing. Excellent. Alrighty. We're in business, folks. Alright. Yep, you can actually hear me. Okay. Okay, Colton, so this is none other than Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. It is a pinball table. And as you can see, it's, well, your usual everyday. My goodness, it has all the features pinball table. For example, has a bunch of lights, it has your flippers, it has your exit ramp, it has your plunger and everything like that. So, the first thing when I saw this was, why? And there's even a video mode in here. In fact, it's in the center. It's happening right now. The orange dot is chasing you. You try to get all the available spots before he catches you. Isn't that neat? But like I said, and it's using the Ms. Pac-Man color motif as far as the game is concerned. I love pinball. Pinball I got started with before I even got with video games. And I've been with video games for an awful long time. So let's see what it says here. Now, I can't see what you're saying, so I'm going to try to jump out of this real quickly. Nice. Okay. Hello there. I can see what you say now. Okay, so here we go. If you say something immediately, I probably won't be paying attention because I cannot see chat on the screen right now. But let's see what this does. So I hit credit. If it's too loud, I do apologize. I'm going to move this over so I can actually not lean off the screen too much. Quiet, Dust. Yeah, I love you too. You're a good boy. You just want things your way. Doesn't always happen that way. Here we go. Oh, how cute.
Slow. Kill shot ahead.
Yeah, so. Now you tell me. So it's a 3-flipper. Nah, you suck. It's a 3-flipper game. Slow. Like I said, it has your basic stuff. Not sure what that sound is other than some sort of pursuit, because the actual sound you hear in the game, Pac-Man, like the siren, for example, that's actually the ghosts pursuing you. Alright. Now, Bally themselves, like I said, they've made some marvelous...
Go to Pac-Man's saucer.
I will! It's actually telling me. Of course, if I keep going down the side exit, not going to happen. Now, Bally's made some excellent pinball tables over the years. A couple of my favorites are Fathom, 8-Ball Deluxe, and of course, back in the 90s, they actually merged with Williams Electronics, but Williams kept the two labels separate. So, with Bally, you actually got the Addams family.
Try for Pac-Man's saucer.
Shut up, I'm talking. So, you actually got some good stuff out of that, too. Let's see how this works. You suck.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. Okay. I see how it is. I see how it is.
Slow. Kill shot ahead.
Aside from the Pac-Man theme, this was a decent pinball table. Is anything really special? No. For this era of the 1980s, it was pretty much what you would expect for a pinball table itself. Oh, get back in there. Oh, come on. Come on. See, the screen is not moving. That's awesome. That's always good to see. You can hear it, but you can't see it. Here I was thinking that I was actually playing. Okay. That's irritating.
Go to Pac-Man's saucer.
Today is how some of this stuff works. And let me kill the game real quickly. Alrighty, very good. Let me take the mouse, bring it back over here, and see what didn't go right. The table looked nice. Yes, it did. Do I have any favorite pinball machines? Let me turn this off real quickly. Yes, I do. My absolute favorite pinball table is the Theater of Magic, which is from Bally. It was produced back, I believe, in 1992. Um, and I'm grateful to know that among the pinball owners of all, when they did a survey of the list and all that kind of stuff, it was ranked two. Only Twilight Zone had a better ranking as far as favorites. But I happen to like that one. The Addams Family is up there as well. I love that table, and it's been a very successful table. And when Farsight Studios came out and they started emulating pinball tables, and they did it with the tablet and with Steam and all that, I thought that was fantastic. And one of the ones that did a Kickstart project was for the Addams Family because they had to go through all the licensing. It was a major, license to get from the estate of Raul Julia, get permission, Angelica Houston, of course, everything about the game, etc. And they did a very good job of raising the money to get it out there so you can play it on your tablet or whatever. So, yes, what's funny? The arcade I used to go to, again, the world's largest arcade, they had a whole bevy of pinball tables. And one day I came in there, and instead of the Theater of Magic, it had a different game. It had a Capcom table. Yes, they made pinball tables back in the 90s. I think it was Pinball Magic or something like that. I really don't remember. Well, actually, I can look it up right here because it's right in front of me. Let's see. Yeah, Pinball Magic. Oh, very good. I do have a memory. I just sometimes question myself. And I'm looking at this like, what the hell is this? So I asked them, what's going on? Why is Theater Magic gone? Oh, we sold it. You sold it? Why? Somebody wanted to buy it. And what happens is, for tax purposes, every single game in that venue was for sale. So it wasn't just necessarily an arcade, it was a showroom. And they got rid of my favorite table. And this is the place where I beat Dragon's Lair 2. Where I would literally stand there at a Ms. Pac-Man for a good 90 minutes playing a game. Galaga, same thing. They had Daytona USA, Sega Rally, everything that was new. And they brought in some games that you got to see for the first time in the market there because they had that kind of power, that kind of influence. But no, they sold my effing game. But like I said, now you can get it with Zen Pinball from was that the Zen Pinball? That's right. You can get it through there, and the tablet and the phone or the Android version. It's the Williams Pinball for Steam, whatever like that. It's through Zen. Thanks Pinball FX or whatever like that. And you can get it there. But before it was Farsight Studios, the Pinball Arcade. And I truly miss that because they had about more than half their titles were Bally and Williams titles, and they lost them all, unless you already purchased them. A showroom arcade, yeah. It was they literally housed over 1,000 arcade cabinets, and we're not talking about cabinets like Ms. Pac-Man. We're talking about even the jumbo size. They actually had Galaxian 3, and Galaxian was the predecessor to Galaga, one of the most popular arcade titles of its kind. Galaxian 3 was a booth. It was actually a big booth that sat 4 people. You actually sat down in a chair, and you had a laser gun, if you will. You aimed it at the screen, and if you're familiar with the game Starblade, think of it like a 4-player Starblade, but you all played at the same time. Starblade, of course, was another Namco title. Amazing they could actually fit one of those inside of that arcade and still have plenty of room to do whatever you want. Sadly, it became a Boomers, and because the owners sold. Well, one of the owners sold. The other one had no choice, and it became a Boomers and kind of declined over the years, and now it's no longer there. It did have an awesome wooden roller coaster outdoors there as well. It was called a Hurricane, and you probably can look that up. Actually, it was pretty cool. I miss it very, very much. It was open 24 hours too. That was the greatest part. Alrighty, let's see if I can get this to work properly, because all you did was got to see a still of the table. If I can't get it run, that's okay. I got something else to screw up. So, what are you capturing? Capturing the visual pinball player. Yes. All right. Check something real quick. All right, so I am seeing me at least. Hello. All right. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so let's see how this, see if I can get this done correctly as I go ahead and load it up. Pray that works. Fatal error. I love fatal errors. It crashes the whole damn thing. Cool. One more time. If it doesn't work, we will move on. Sadly, I was actually doing decent.
Pac-Man.
Okay. Yep. It's not picking it up. Yeah, it sucks. Alright. Because I see it on the preview. It's not showing up on the preview. Well. Yep. Not showing up. Okay. It looks like that. That's fantastic. Alright. Whenever you want it to work, it just won't work. Alright. I'm going to show a video then. I'm sorry about that, Colton. Anyway, if you saw what the still of it was just a basic pinball table from Bally. It looked pretty cool. In fact, I'll go back to the picture of it. How about that? You can actually see what it really looked like. Scroll through it real quickly. There it is. Oh yeah, well, like I said, I'm fairly new at this. Anyway, this is what the table, this is what the back glass looked like, and it was simply Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man pinball. It's from the same people who put together a lot of the other Bally tables. Basic table, if you will, with your bumpers and your jets and your lights, drop targets, you name it. Oh yeah. Let's go to the next picture. I gotta go back out. Yes. Like that. And like I said, it's pretty cool. Now, the packed maze that you see there, it starts as the center, rather the safety zone, and what you have to do is you have to make it there. You are the yellow dot, and then there will be an orange dot following you. And you have to avoid it. That's all you have to do. And try to get to the safety zone. There's the little visual aspect of it, if it were. Of course, you get drop targets that will help you get to bonus and extra levels, if you will, multipliers, all kinds of drop targets there. It was a cool table. Skill shots in there. Oh yeah. Your basic Bally table. And basic Bally tables is actually a good thing because they actually made very good tables on average. Better than most, I will say. Now the next one we're going to play, I might as well just show you right now, is this sucker. That's a joystick. That's the pinball table. That's the arcade monitor. And of course, it's Baby Pac-Man. Baby Pac-Man was a hybrid Pac-Man video game. Now, I tried to do the same thing here. I actually got Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man to work. Fortunately, now it doesn't want to work because, reasons. But, get off my screen. But, I have a video of somebody actually successfully capturing the game. And it's first time I ever played this game. There was like Chuck E. Cheese. There was another one out there called Showbiz Pizza Time Theater, and we had one in our neighborhood. And I remember seeing this for the first time. They'd just gotten it in, and of course it's a Pac-Man game, but it doesn't look like a Pac-Man. It's a hard game too. So let me get the video up for us to see. Oh yeah, that's pretty wild. Oh, let's see. I don't want to deafen us too much. I mean, having hearing is pretty good, but when you get to my age, it comes. Is that too loud there? Okay, you can stop. Okay, now you're not responding. Okay, you can't see it yet because I haven't put it up on the Crapture? That's about right. It is Crapture. It is Crapture. Just a tiny bit. Yeah, that's what I thought. Everything wants to equalize in the headphones, but not anywhere else. We'll bring you back down to 75, shall we? That sounds good. Alright. So, like I said, the first time I ever played it was at Showbiz. And thinking to myself, my God, this is incredible. Again, I love pinball. And I love video games. And Bally, with their expertise, made this. And this is what it looks like. And you can see the maze has your typical side exits, if you will, but they also have bottom tunnels as well. You go down the bottom tunnel, it'll take you down to the pinball table, which is going to see right there. He's bopping up and down. I don't know, because the ghost can't travel through those tunnels. So what you do in this particular part of the game is that you're going to earn your energizers. Turn it down just a little bit more. Real quickly. I didn't realize the game was in stereo like that. Flippers. There we go. Alright, so basically you use the pinball table to advance your fruit. You start off with the cherries just like you do with all the other Pac-Man games. But you also use on the left side of the table, you see the word fruit, and then the other side you see the word tunnel. If you light them all up, you advance the fruit, or you speed up in the tunnels. Sometimes that's not necessarily a good thing, I'll tell you that right now. But if you hit certain targets on there, you earn your energizers. You earn your energizers, like you see there, the top 2 energizers have been earned, and so now he can go use them to turn the ghost blue. But he's going to continue building up his points. Pac Escape has been activated. Now he can earn more, continuing on with his quest. Because the top 2 energizers, all he needs is the bottom 2. To get the bottom 2, there's a horseshoe up there, a trapped ball in the top center. And if you happen to move the ball to the other side of the horseshoe, you will earn that energizer. He just did that with energizer number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, going to the top, bottom. And see, he has 3 energizers. If you lose your life, by the way, and you still have an energizer up on the board, you lose the energizer. This was an amazing game. Hard as hell. Don't get me wrong. The top score I ever gotten in this game was about 150,000-ish. But man, it is such a marvel to see them integrate. Then, this is 1983 now, okay? So nowadays you see, dot matrix scoreboards on the back glass, and now they actually have LCD screens in the back glass and elsewhere on the table. But that's today. We're talking about like over the last 20 to 30 years. This is over 40 years ago. Actually, now it is 40 years ago. Excuse me. It's I have seen a couple of these post-crash. One of them working, one of them not. But I would love to have one of these. Because this is not just a curiosity piece, but it's just a really interesting meld of pinball mechanics as well as an actual playable video game. Now, the video game itself, the Pac-Man game, doesn't follow any of the usual game mechanics of Pac-Man. In fact, if anything, it's like the Coleco tabletop thing, where the ghosts go back and forth, move randomly. They don't really have any move pattern of any kind. And, of course, without energizers, now he has all four. I will say the siren is the most annoying thing. Okay, there is now chasing a ghost. Oh, good job. And what's neat about this, too, is that... There you go. Oh, yeah. Neat about this, too, if you complete this maze, you get a 10,000 point bonus. If you complete the next maze, you get an extra life. So they kind of really mix things up here. Here's 10,000. Next maze, a little bit tougher. And both of the tunnels are open. By the way, if you lose the ball in the center here, because there are no side exits, you just lose the ball. You cannot re-enter tunnels until you lose a life. Or complete the maze. And I see two energizers are lit up. Still on the cherry, looks like it's about to go to the next one, which is strawberry. Tunnel is almost completely lit up. I got 3 out of 4 energizers. Okay, the fruit has now advanced. Now going to the strawberry. You can see in the center. Actually, no, that's the peach now. And you can see the fruit dancing in the center of the screen there. As to what to expect. We'll watch this for a little bit more. I will admit, I do love seeing people play this game. That's the one thing. It's one of my pet peeves, actually, seeing somebody play a game badly. And sometimes I'm guilty of that too. There are some games I'm not that fantastic. I do love seeing somebody who knows how to play the game play. I dare say this is a fine example of this. And it's tough. Notice the energizers don't last long here at all. He's going back to the Pac-Man escape. Oh yeah. The Pac-Man that's in the center, the lower center of the board, that is an extra life that he earned just by kick-assing the game. Back to the Pac escape. Now, this is not the Pac-Man game that broke the camel's back. There's one more. One more unauthorized Pac-Man title in this mix. Remember, we had Ms. Pac-Man. Believe it or not, Golden Ms. Pac-Man is not an authorized Pac-Man title. It is not created by Namco, and that's the key. It has to be created by Namco. In fact, Iwatani, Toru Iwatani, like I said, the guy who created Pac-Man in the first place, he had his hand on all the Pac-Man games at that time. Super Pac-Man, Pac-and-Pal, Pac-Mania, Pac-Land. Not necessarily that order. Pac-Land actually came out before Pac-Mania. But he had his hands in all of them. But not Ms. Pac-Man. Ms. Pac-Man was created by Midway. Actually, it was purchased by Midway. It was created by somebody else. Junior Pac-Man was not created by Namco. It was created by Midway. Pac-Man Plus. Same thing, although it's heavily reliant on Pac-Man. And of course, this incredible title. And of all the unauthorized Pac-Man tables... Oh, you just lost... Yep. Of all the Pac-Man, unauthorized Pac-Man titles, only Ms. Pac-Man, in my opinion, beats this one. Like I said, this is an incredible title. And this part of the game is much harder than your average Pac-Man title. Yeah, it is. It was. What's the only? I think the only reason. This is my opinion. I think the only reason why this did not catch on as a genre, if you will, is because Video Game Crash of 1983. This came out roughly around that same time, and video games, well, they fell out of favor thanks to largely Atari and ET, and all the lore that you've heard about. You know, they had a lot of them returned. They did. It was one of the most returned video games of all time. And they took all the unsold copies and buried them out in the desert. They did. That is true. It hurt the arcades. Now, there were a lot of good titles that came out in 1983, 1984. Mario Brothers came out in 83. This came out in 83. Gauntlet came out in 1984 from Atari itself. But the home market crashed. It would take a couple of years for Nintendo to revitalize it. Anyway. What he's doing right now, he's advancing the lights there, the targets there in the center of the table. As you can see, they're almost all lit except for 5 of them. And if you get them, that's what earns you another Energizer. He already has 4 Energizers. And now he's now just showing off. If you get the ones in the center, though, that gets you an extra life. He's also advancing his fruit. Hey. And the beauty about this is that as long as you use the pack escape, as long as you don't lose the ball, it's caught up in one of the 2 pockets there at the top, you can earn Energizer after Energizer after Energizer. As long as you keep hitting the proper targets, you can stay in the same maze, advance your fruit, keep earning Energizers, and just pretty much rack up points. And this is what they're doing here. They're just going for points. It is. Up, back down the Pasculator, Pack Escape. And he used up 2 of the Energizers. You know what? He can re-earn them. Getting number 3 is fairly easy because that's the horseshoe. Or they can use the drop targets there just below the horseshoe. Earn the 3rd that way. Nope. He just now advanced the tunnel. That's not good. That's the one feature I don't like in this one. You fly through the tunnels a little too quickly. Carry this on for another few minutes. Yep. Already earned that one, though. Oh, he lost it. Okay, now he can't go back through the tunnels. They're closed. The only thing he can do now is complete the maze. Yeah. The Energizers don't count towards the maze, by the way. But you notice the Energizers are still there. That looks very familiar as far as the board's concerned. That looks like the Pac-Man maze. The Energizers are earned. Remember, they're not actually part of the maze itself in this game. Whereas any other Pac-Man game, of course they are. Ooh, that was bad. Okay, you got some work to do. Okay, got the fruit. Now, much to my surprise, I love homebrews of games for consoles. And one of my favorite consoles, believe it or not, there's a console called the Atari 7800. And you're probably asking yourself, what the hell is that? I've heard of Atari, but not that number. Yes, it is. Considering this is an old, basic, solid-state pinball, basically. In the 90s, they went wild with it because they introduced the dot matrix score display. And then, of course, they went wild with sound bites and everything like that, too. All the movie-themed pinball tables that came out in the 90s were incredible. Atari 7800. Somebody made a homebrew of this very game for it, and I've played it. It is accurate. It is, I would say, about 98% accurate of this table, this game rather. So I'm glad to see that somebody paid homage properly to this. And that a few years ago. Oh my goodness. Can't use the tunnels, but this player is in incredibly good shape. Yep. Yep. 30,000. Tunnels are available one more time. Wait and see. Hard to wait and see in this particular game, I have to admit, because the ghosts don't necessarily always travel in the same direction. They do a lot of reversing. You saw him fly through the tunnel there. That's dangerous in this game. That is not necessarily a benefit. That can be quite the detriment. Oh, that's close. Now, usually when I'm playing this, when I'm at this point, I'm going in survival mode. If you've ever played Pac-Man to say the 20th level, you know, not necessarily in the maze, but the level, the energizers stop working for a bit. They actually just reverse the ghost, but do nothing else. This game kind of reminds me of that, except full time. Can't rely on the rules. Okay, that energizer number 4. 3, it looks like. Yep. Got number 1, rather. Oh. Tunnels. One more to advance the fruit. Fruits, as it says. Oh, you lost it. And we're going to stop after this one in just a second. I didn't stream at 9 o'clock because I actually have to be somewhere. When I'm on other people's stream, I say I gotta hit the road. I literally have to hit the road. I'm actually driving at that point. And twitching and driving, not exactly a good combination. I'm one of those. I will not be on my phone if I'm on the road. I'm old-fashioned enough to do that. Besides that, I hate texting. My logic is you're using a phone, but you're typing a written communication on it, on a verbal device. But I'm an old kid. What can I do? Okay, what he's doing right now is doing a good thing here. He's actually advancing his fruits. By the time the next one comes up, it's worth it. Oh, almost, dude. Yeah. One away. 3 out of 4. I am actually glad that they only have one sound bank for a lot of this, for the video game itself. Like I said, that siren is annoying. You can tilt. This game will tilt. Like any pinball do. Although it is a tall pinball table per se, because it's, you know, an arcade cabinet. Nonetheless, good shape. Oh, don't die. Yep. Pass it later. He's gonna go warp speed through that tunnel now. Alright. I'm going to cap it off in just a second. It's now 8:36. That's a good question. Back in the day, believe it or not, when pinball tables, before they had flippers, because flippers were not introduced until the 1940s. The first table to actually have a flipper in it, and actually had about 6 of them, was called Humpty Dumpty. It was made back, I believe, in 1947 by D. Gottlieb. And by this time, of course, pinball tables also had electricity. That would be introduced in the 1930s. But the tilt system, you were pretty much relied on tilting the table as much as possible, because in the original pinball design, you were actually knocking the pinball, trying to get him into a series of rings made of pins, hence the name pinball. Of course, the pins disappeared, altogether by the time other features had been included into the table. But the tilt system, when people got a little too zealous, I don't know exactly who developed it or who invented it, but it was to keep you from pretty much cheating too much. Because you would nudge the table so you can kind of tilt the ball's trajectory. But if you did it too much, there's a ring inside the pinball table, and in it has a metal string with a weight attached to it, and at any point should that wire hit the ring, that causes the tilt. What do you say? Function. Let's call it the sensor. Thank you. Cause tilt sensor to activate. In later games, of course, they give you like warnings. Do it once, it gives you a warning. Do it twice, it gives you a double warning. Then finally, it will tilt. Back in the day, you only got the one warning. You didn't get a warning; it just tilted. And one of my favorite tables is a table called El Dorado, and several of the other Gottlieb tables of the early 1970s. That if you tilt the game, the game was over. You didn't lose the ball; you lost the game. So they discourage you tilting pretty badly. But that's basically what it was. But in the older days, you were encouraged to nudge that table as much as you can, because back in those days also, you were playing for sometimes money. And of course, the infamous Mayor LaGuardia of New York actually was out there destroying gambling machines, which included pinball tables. In fact, pinball was outlawed in New York until about the mid-1970s, if I'm not mistaken, because they were gambling machines way back when. And that's why when you come across some of the older tables, particularly from the 50s, 60s, you'll see for amusement only. That's to let you know that this is not a gambling device. This is for entertainment. And that it actually went to court in New York, and they actually the lawyer for the pinball manufacturer went out and proved that this was a game of skill. That's how they got off the hook. And he said, I'm going to shoot this pinball and hit it with the flipper and shoot it into that pocket. And lo and behold, he did it. He did it out of pure luck, because he had no idea what the hell he was doing. But that's essentially what happened. And that's how New York was able to legalize pinball machines once again. It took them a long time. But when you consider that good God, he's flying through that pinball tables have had electricity in them for about 90 years now. They are that old. I think we're going to cap it right here. Keep saying that because he's just too damn good. Tell you what, when he hits 1 million, which is like right around the corner, because he's at 996,000. Almost. But for your edification, the first pinball table to include flippers was Humpty Dumpty. My goodness. I'm pretty sure, I don't know where your neck of the woods. In my neck of the woods, there is an actual pinball museum called the Silver Ball Arcade. It used to be called the Silver Ball Museum. They have 2 locations. And it's fascinating to see these old tables from decades old. that are still being maintained to this day. And when you consider that there are still, oh yeah, you might get lucky. I know this is a collector's piece. You might get lucky. You might stumble across one. I said I'd stop, and here I am. I will now stop. By the way, this person made it to 1.7 million points. That's why I wasn't going to play the whole thing, because it's just too effing long. So having said that, there's one more game. So we went through Ms. Pac-Man. We went through Pac-Man Plus. We went through Junior Pac-Man, Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, Baby Pac-Man. And they were all fantastic in their own way. They were all fantastic. Who doesn't love pinball? I was about to say there are still a handful of pinball manufacturers. Stern Electronics was one of the older ones. They're still around. Jersey Jacks, I think, is the name of them. They're around. They've been making them for a few years. And one other escapes my mind, but there's only a handful of them left. Back in the 90s, they had Data East making them, Capcom, Sega, of course Williams and Bally. They were the same company. Gottlieb was still making them through Premiere. Oh yeah. But now they're pretty much all gone. Let's go to the last game. I'm going to hit pause because I have to fire up an emulator for this one, and thus I will be right back. Professor Pac-Man. Get a better look at that. They are. Very unfortunate. These machines are great. My brother and I actually, we've worked on arcade games. In fact, the Pac-Man that's in my garage right now is actually a converted PlayStation kiosk that we had in my store. We were getting rid of it because this was a PlayStation 1 kiosk, so it had some age to it. And so, what are we going to do with that? And the guy says, we'll throw it away. So why throw it away? He said, tell you what, I offered to pay $100 for it. And they said, sold. I said, okay, good. And so I took it home, and I gutted it and dressed it up, and it became a Pac-Man cabinet, like a cabaret style Pac-Man cabinet. So Professor Pac-Man, yeah. This game needs no introduction. Really, it truly doesn't need any introduction whatsoever. All right, so, but anyway, my brother and I work on these games. We play these games, and when we ever go to like the old Silver Ball, it's a joy for us to play these old titles. But at the same time, we know what's wrong with the game because like it has a sticky button or the joystick's not right or whatever like that. Okay, so you never heard of this one. Good for you. Congratulations, you win. All right, that's the end. Bye. This is the game that broke. This is the game that broke Midway's back as far as being a Pac-Man distributor for North America. You ask yourself, how bad is it? Oh, 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 it's bad. It's bad. I shall now pause. I shall now unpause the game. Aren't you already tantalized with the ghost animation? Not lovely. Which is the mirror image? A, B, or C? B is correct. Yay! And that's how you play. Nope, not C. No. 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 No, 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 no. And that's how you play Professor Pac-Man. What? There is no maze? No. There are no dots? No. Is there a game? Kind of? Maybe? I didn't bother mapping this out to a controller. So, I gotta see what button's what. Hold, please. Left controller, J1 button. Okay. 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 Yep. You don't normally see that. Okay, as I hesitantly hit credit. Oh, doesn't even sound right. Yes. No, no two-player. No. Please, no. God, no. C was B was the correct answer. Yes. This is the game. You're being kind. Must I? Ah, I was wrong. But it's a bonus question. Shouldn't count against me. Yes, they are. Chicken is to egg. Yeah. You know, this doesn't get more exciting than that. Ah, I was wrong. Okay, I was right. Okay. I guess I was wrong. It's the same flock of birds. It's killing you. I'm the one hitting the buttons, Colton. Want to switch? Oh, I actually get to initial forward. Okay, I get to put my moniker in this thing. Initial. And yes, those are my initials. You haven't lived until you've played Professor Pac-Man. So the age-old question is, now I can turn on the camera so you can actually see this stuff. So the age-old question is, what was the worst game you ever played? And I've played some pretty bad ones. This is up there in the top 5. The absolute worst game I ever played, by the way, was Superman 64 for the Nintendo 64. Um, Back in the days where I worked for the largest video game retailer in North America back in its infancy. And I don't know if how far back you go along as far as gaming, but you go to the store and they used to have this book, and you open up the book and you see these coming soon titles. You can sign up, and we notify you when the game came out. Well, I used to do the flyers for our area, and I did them. I put them in the book and everything. And I made two versions. I made ones that we actually used, and then I made ones that we couldn't use. And so the one we used, it was Superman 64, and I used the S shield that would be on his chest. Something's happening in Metropolis, that type of thing. That's the one you got to see. The one you didn't see was the capital letter S and then the word Hitty, Hitty. And then down below that, graphics so bad it'll make your eyes bleed. Game worse than kryptonite. And we couldn't use that one because they were a vendor of ours that would come by and stop by and see how things were doing. I believe it was Titus. And we couldn't tell them what our true opinions were of that game because we were too, cordial. We were professional. Sure. We were all in our 20s. Sure, so why not? It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But of the truly bad video games I've ever played, this is actually one of them. I will not play this again. No. No. In fact, you know what? I hit this button here, pause, to give it the good grace to say that, hey, I'm going to switch out things so we can switch up scenes. No, you don't even get that. Sorry. Nope. Blank screen it is. As a matter of fact, you get this. Good God. Alright. So those are your unauthorized. So by the time this game came out, and the crash had already happened, by the way, Namco is pretty much like, what the hell is this? And they couldn't let this one go. This one was as bad as it got. Subsequently after this one, Midway had lost the rights to publish any further Pac-Man titles, and Atari, yes, that Atari, ultimately got the remaining games that came out in North America. So there's that. I believe Pac-Land had already come out by that point. Midway had already produced it for North America. But this was the one that broke everyone's spirits. The next game to come out was Pac-Mania in 1987, and that was through Atari. As a matter of fact, if you played your home console's version of the game Pac-Mania, you had one for the NES, which was from a company called Tengen, Tengen. That was Atari, by the way. And of course, same for the Sega Genesis, which was more accurate to the actual arcade title. And then Namco started producing games for North America on their own by that point. So no more Tengen, no more Atari. Namco did it themselves. That would be about the mid-90s, and pretty much the rest is history. So there's your Pac-Man history. How about that? Amazing. So you go out there and you look up on Steam, and then you see all, the Pac-Man Museum Plus, and you see all those Pac-Man titles, the arrangement. I love the fact that they actually include the arrangement in there. That was actually from Namco's Classics Volume 2, which featured Pac-Man in there, but it also featured arrangement of Pac-Man. I believe the other two games were Dig Dug and Rally X, which was really cool, actually. So there's that. Ms. Pac-Man would feature in the 25th anniversary from Namco. It was paired up with Galaga. I don't know if you remember that. You will hear this in your nightmares? I had these on. Imagine how it sounded here. I actually played this in the arcades, believe it or not. I did play Professor Pac-Man in the arcade. Most of these, just about all these titles that you will see that I put up on here, particularly Arcade vs. Console on Saturday, I will have played at some point in my younger lifetime. Is that a bad thing? Sometimes. But like I've been doing this since I was about 3. And my dad had a friend who was was a video game dealer, not an arcade, video game dealer. And I made it very easy. But down where I lived also, we had arcades everywhere. So it was actually pretty cool. So thank you for hanging in here. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to torture you then. And anyone who watches the VOD afterwards, because I only have a handful of viewers here, you have my sincerest apologies. It won't happen again. Can't promise I won't put Professor Pac-Man up on a later thing for, like, you know, for a Monday night compare. It certainly won't be on a Thursday night. That's for sure, thank God. But it could appear on a Saturday, so watch out. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I will say this though. There is an author out there named Stephen L. Kent. I don't know if I mentioned this if you on one of my previous broadcasts that you were in, but he wrote a book about 23 years ago called The First Quarter. But his sequel to that was called The Ultimate History of Video Games. I believe it's in his third edition because as time progressed, more consoles, more technology came out. But he is one of the ultimate historians of video games. He's brilliant, and he has some incredible stories to share in his readings. And my favorite story that he shared was a story about Donkey Kong being sued by Universal Studios. You probably can figure out why if you really think about it. And the good news is Nintendo won, but how they won is hilarious. You'll have to check that out. You probably can look that up. You don't even, may not have to look it up in the book. You probably can look that up online. But let's just say it's karma, and we'll leave it at that. But that is one of my absolute favorite stories of this wild world of video games that's happened over the decades. I have to be somewhere in just a few minutes, so I'm going to head off here. If you like what you saw, please give me a follow. I would greatly appreciate it. It lets me know that I'm doing better than mediocre. Also, I have a YouTube page with all my past videos that have dropped off Twitch since then. I also have an Instagram page so you can see all the video game crap I've collected over the last 46 years. That's pretty much it. Also, I have an original YouTube page, the Match Game Tribute channel. I was young and stupid then. YouTube was in its infancy. I saw maybe how could you test the copyright issue. It's still up, by the way, because I don't claim ownership to it. The Match Game is a 70s game show from starring Gene Rayburn. You probably can catch that on Game Show Network. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. You get to see some of my early test videos. See the nonsense that I did. What was that I did on Saturday? I did Dragon Slayer as the arcade versus console. Believe it or not, there were cartridge games of Dragon Slayer for the NES and Super Nintendo, and even a Game Boy Color. I didn't do the Game Boy Color because I realized we were running out of time. But nonetheless, you can check that out. Dragon Slayer, one of my favorite arcade titles. I spent a small fortune playing and beating that game. Soon up on the agenda will be a Laserdisc Monday. Laserdisc titles to play. They didn't occur just in the 80s. They also occurred in the 90s, thanks to American laser games, like Mad Dog McCree, for example. That will be up in the near future, so I will see you later. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Be good to each other, and good night. Thanks, Colton. Appreciate it. Colton, you still there? Colton, you still there? Okay. I have 2 viewers. I'm going to do something I don't normally do. Even with this rotten music. You can blame the composer of this horrible, horrible song. And all my music, by the way. He didn't know any better when he wrote this back in 2000. That was me. Because I didn't know any better then. I'm going to see who I can raid. Dixie Chris! Oh my goodness. Dixie Chris is he is a delight to watch. He is, yes I did, thank you. There was a Sony. Hell, turn on cameras. Screw this. Back in 2000, they released for the PlayStation the MTV Music Generator, and you could actually write music with it. You can actually write royalty-free samples and all that kind of stuff included, or you can write your own stuff. And a lot of it, I wrote my own stuff. So because I can actually read and play and all that kind of stuff, I'm a drummer by hobby. Anyway, we're going to raid Sir Dixie Chris. He is bonkers. I love him. He is fantastic. He has quite the gremlin community, and I will be part of that sometimes just because it's there. And he's a hoot to watch. So stand by for just a second. Let me see if I can get him on board as I start the raid. Hopefully he'll accept a raid of 2. In the meantime, you have yourself a good night, Kelton. If I accidentally call you Kelton, apologize. I actually had a colleague named Kelton. You're not Kelton, you're Colton. And then we're going to head on in. Thanks a lot for joining in. Appreciate it. Here we go.